Next, we're on step 7. Step 7 is all about putting the differential gears that we made in step 5, the shafts that we've made in step 6, and putting them all together into the axles to make 2 axles, one for the front and one for the rear. And in traditional Tamiya fashion, the axles are actually identical, so you make 2, which is really good. Now we do have some of the components. We have our gearbox cases, so you've got B1, which is this type with the shroud, and then this one here, which is B2. So we're making 2 of, so you can see I've got the 2 sets of them. We need our differential gears that we made. We need also our shafts that we made in step 6. We need these guys here. These are the BA24, the bevel gear shaft. Need 2 of those, so one for each axle, of course. We need these screws, the BA3s, which are the 3 by 20mm screws. They're the machine screws. We need these grub screws, which are the 5 by 5mm grub screws, so BA10. We need 2 of those. That's these 2. We need the BA11, and there's a little note about BA11. We also need the nuts, 3mm nuts, BA13. We need 8 of those. These are again are the ones not with the nylon, so they're not the nylon docking ones. We need 2 of the 4mm E-clips, which are BA16s. We also need 2 of the BA22s, which are our 5mm by 0.3 of a millimeter shims. 2 of those. And of course you need the ball bearing, which comes with the kit, which is the metal ball bearing which comes with the kit, which is a 1050 bearing, which is BA18. And of course I'm replacing all of the BA19s, the 1050 metal bushings, with my bearings. Okay, so you need 6 of those in total. So yeah, we're going to be doing quite a few. So yeah, we're going to get there, aren't we? Nice. Right, let's pop all this together and show you how it's done. I'll do one and then I'll show you how I do that one, and then it's just a case of repeating, and I'll show you the details. So we have to also make a decision. It says here the BA11, so whether you're using this for locked differentials or unlocked differentials. Now the manual here explains about popping the BA11, which is this little pin and the screw pin, through the axle and through the differential ring gear to lock, to make it a locked one. If you don't want your axles, if you don't want them locked, you simply do not install this immediately. However, Tamiya do make it easy for you to lock it at a later stage, and I'll show you that at the end of this particular step. This is what this 5 by 5.5mm grub screw is all about. Anyway, let me show you. So let's put one of these together then and show you how it's done. So first of all, we're going to take our bevel gear shaft and we're going to take this. This is going to have the BA18, okay, which is the one that comes with the kit. So once you've got the bearing in place, you then take the B1, which is the one with the shroud, and you place that through, so it's through, okay. Then on the other side, you can use the BA19, the metal bush, but again, I'm using bearings. So on goes my bearing. Then on goes one of the shims. So that puts that there. And then we need one of our 4mm E-clips. And we need to clip that into place so that that's secure. Nearly had it. Make sure it's on the other side of the shim. Would have to be difficult on camera, wouldn't it? There we go. Try again. There we go. That's better. Okay, so now that's in. Okay, of course we need to make sure there's grease in there on that gear, so let's put plenty of grease in there. There we go, plenty in there now. Right, now we've got that in place, we need to think about our drive shafts. So we get our drive shaft, our long one, and we take our differential gear, place that in like that, take our short one and place that in the other side like that. So you now have those two, okay, and we'll pop that into place, ensuring that these all line up. And put a little bit of grease on there, make sure the bearings line. Packing a bit of grease in there as well, both sides, don't want any come through. There we are. And then the same again this side, packing any there, and I'm going to just pack a bit of grease on there as well. Bring that over. There we go. So they now should line. Okay, that lines nicely. Need to pop some gear oil, grease on here too. So need to make sure there's plenty on there. And there you go, be plenty now. Shove that down in there. Yeah, that's fine. And then what I have got over and above, I'm gonna pop that there. There we are. So what I'm now gonna do is, now that that's all nicely greased up and ready to grow, is on the other half of the gearbox, which is the B2 part, I'm gonna just, in this edge, I'm just gonna put grease in here so that it seals. And I'm gonna do that all the way around. So I'm not gonna show you on camera, I'm just gonna do it and come back to you. So if you look carefully, what I've done is I've run grease all around the inside of the gearbox and the actual housing. So the idea is we seal the axle housing. So now we've got the two halves, okay? So you pop the two halves together, okay? And then we can always wipe off any excess grease, okay? So now we've got the two halves together. We need to take the longer of the screws in a moment, and we need to put a 3mm nut on one side and some thread lock on the screw and pop it through. Okay, so there we go. Just put a bit of thread lock. Go, and then straight through, because you don't want that touching the plastic as much as you can. Okay, that's one. You can just see a little bit of grease oozing out. That's what we want to see. I'm going to do this at the other diagonal, so always go at a diagonal. If you get in a habit of doing that, it makes sure it torques the screw down properly. A bit more there, there we go. Push through quickly, and you do that for all of them, okay? Now you'll see also I've purposely left out the BA11, and I'll show you in a moment how you can decide whether you want to lock the diffs or unlock the diffs. So at the moment mine are unlocked, but if I decide that I want to lock them, Tamiya have made it nice and easy, and which I think is a fabulous idea. Why don't they all do that? So well done, Tamiya. That's really a good feature. I'll show you in a second. So just lock this locking nut on here. Last one through. There we go. Right, so tighten that up. Tighten that up. That is again diagonal fashion. So it's nice and tight. tight, 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 tight. So you can see I've got an open diff. Okay, let's give this a little wipe because it's squished out a little bit of the grease, which shows that the seal is working. Got enough there to seal between the two. Now let me show you the little secret about this pin. Can you see this? Can you see the camera gets? You see this hole here? If I turn that round, you can see the hole of the shaft, which means what you can do is the BA11, if you decide to lock the diff, you can take the BA11 and you can pop the BA11 all the way through and lock the diff. And screw it all the way through and it will lock the diff. Okay, so it's now locked to diff. Or in our case, I don't want it, so all I need to do is put the grub screw in the hole instead, and if I want to lock it at a later stage, I can. So that's a neat idea. Just pop that through so you don't impede the turning. It says go all the way down until it stops, until it doesn't move, and then come back half a turn. There you go. Perfect. Now we've got our working diff. We've got it open diff, but if I decide to later on lock it, I just take out the grub screw and pop in the BA11 all the way through and screw it home. A little bit of thread lock on. Done. Genius idea. So that is step 7 completed. We can now move on to step 8.